Brilliant. So I just wanted to welcome people to a session that we're recording tonight on a new project. Some people that are part of the Flourish network or follow what we do will know that we've recently opened a hub at Heaton Chapel station, and this lovely slide and backdrop that we've got here is actually the back side of that. Looking at it from one of the platforms at Heaton Chapel station, we're up in the floor above, right at the top. And as we've been based in Heaton Chapel and we've got this brilliant new space, we've been looking at different initiatives, and serendipity has kicked in. And a woman that we know called Sophia, who's come on some of our programs and been part of some of our pop-up spa work and other things, has actually now started working with this brilliant initiative called Try the Train. Her colleague Lauren's on the call tonight to tell us more about it, and we're backing it for a few reasons. Partly we're right there, and we're right on the side of the train line, so we could be a really good place and space and venue for groups that want to try this program or give this program a go, or have a little base when they're going through it, to be an easy access point. You know, obviously there's hundreds of stations, but at least we're there with meeting rooms and a space for people to come in and have a brew while they're getting ready for their trips or getting ready for their program, or having a chat about some of the things that Lauren's going to tell you about. We've also well aware that there's lots of women and men, but obviously at Flourish we support women as a force for social change. We've got a lot of women in our network who run lots of groups, run lots of social enterprises, charities and other things, with people who might have barriers actually to accessing transport, to accessing the train. There might be language barriers, there might be financial barriers, there might be ability or just needs barriers, all sorts of barriers. And it's very easy to take things for granted and think, oh yeah, just get on the train. But with people's own sort of lifestyles and needs, and also with changes actually happening in the way the train and transport systems are working, sometimes people need either a refresher or a bit of confidence building with this. And we thought, what a great idea and what a great way to link to a brilliant project that could help people in our communities, and particularly some of the women that we work with. So we've sent some information out to people, and sometimes having a little bit of an overview of what it's all about can help people make a decision on whether it's right for them. So I'm going to hand it over to Lauren for a little while to tell us all about it, basically. So I'm going to stop sharing and introduce Lauren. I don't know if you want to say a bit about who you are and your role, and you've obviously got a few slides yourself, and we're going to talk about some case studies as well of people that are getting involved. And I think we've got people on the call as well who might have questions. So over to you, Lauren.
Thank you, Nicola. Yes, so yeah, I'm Lauren. I have been working with Try the Train since the beginning of the year, and I got involved right at the early stages of the project. And basically, I think it's been established for all the reasons that you've described, really.
Sorry, have I stolen your thunder there?
No, it's brilliant. No, it's great. It just shows that it's very connected. That it's really about that there are so many reasons why traveling by trains is not an easy thing to do, and yet it can provide so many opportunities to people. And that's what we really kind of are focusing on, like, where does it allow people to go, what does it allow people to imagine as well, in terms of where they might like to go, where they'd like to be, that connection to other parts and other areas. And so we really wanted to look at how can we reach people, meet people where they're at. And so it started off with kind of working with existing community groups and coming along to whatever existing group was already there with our sort of 6-week program. And off the back of that, we were starting to get people actually individually get in touch and say, I've seen this and I'd like to get involved, and I'd like to be part of the project. And we weren't at that time doing a group, an open group like that. So when the hub at Flourish, and I know kind of all the connections that you have, and Sophia was talking a lot about that kind of connection, we thought this could be a really brilliant opportunity to allow people to come in as individuals, or if a few people want to come as a group as well, from an existing group, that's all possible for this cohort as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that, and what I'd like to do is just share my screen in terms of what to expect for this upcoming program. So the idea then is that we would really like to offer 6 weeks, And it kind of breaks down like this. And we'd like to start this on, I've got the dates on the next slide, but it will be starting Tuesday, the 10th of October. And just to give a little bit of an overview of what the sessions are like, each program is different depending on what comes up really in the first session and the second session, because each group is unique. So as we start.
Quick question, Lauren, are you able
Yeah.
to make that full screen? I know sometimes
yeah.
with Google stuff, it's a bit
Yeah,
the
let me
buttons
work
different,
out.
but that might help. You know, when there's text, if you can make it full screen, that would be. Oh, it's up at the top. It says slideshow.
There we go.
Just thinking if that works, that will help people see.
Brilliant. Yes. Is that better?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, basically we do 6 sessions. The first session is a real chance for us to get to know the group. And we do that through interactive activities, a chance for people to express any hopes and any concerns they might have about joining the project or about rail travel in general. And then we start to introduce some of the more kind of first steps to what we want to do in terms of orientating ourselves. So what do we need to look out for when we're at the station, and how do we start to plan our first trip? So that first trip 1, will be the following week. And that tends to be a short local trip. And that could be just orientating ourselves around the station, getting really familiar with that, looking at where the platforms are, how do we get our tickets, or we might take that a little bit further depending on the kind of confidence levels of the group, and we tend to just do like a few stops, and then we'll come back and we'll really kind of focus on all those little things, like you said, Nicola, that we can take for granted. So how do we know when to get off? How do we know when our stop is coming? When do we know when to press the button on the train, and when do they open automatically? You know, all these things, and how do we
and
prepare?
I think about these things on the bus. I'm like a proper car person, okay, and I'm fine at the train. I mean, I'll support this, and we really want to see more people on it. But yes, what you're saying is like how I feel about getting on the bus. It's like it's real. So anybody can have that, like, you know,
Yeah.
How do I get on and off this thing?
Completely. And you know, you get used to one mode of transport and then you do something else and you're like, oh, okay. So I think we really want to kind of look at those things, really identify what it would mean to each person as well to be more rail confident, because that will look different for everybody as well. So will their motivations for travel. So our second workshop is really looking at what some of the barriers are, and what are some of the reasons to travel, and then how do we overcome those barriers. We look at really practical things like health and safety. We start looking at how we buy tickets and how to plan more detailed trips. So in the first session, we might use a kind of a blow up of a map, and then in our second session we might start to use an online journey planner, and we've got some different tech and resources to help with our learning with this. Then, hopefully by the end of that session, we've planned our second trip, which will be a little bit further afield, a few more stops, hopefully with maybe some cake and coffee somewhere, depending where we end up. And then for our third and final workshop, it's really reflecting on what we've learned so far, what went well on the trips, and what do we need to factor in for our final trip, because that's going to be almost a day, maybe half a day. I'll show the timings on the next slide. But to really kind of enjoy that final experience, the group can choose a destination. So in the past, we've taken people to Blackpool. I have a group that are planning to go to Hebden Bridge. So it will be depending again on what the group would like to do. We might even be able to go to a gallery, museum. So yeah, really responding to what the group would like to do, and kind of handing over planning a little bit at this point so that they can really have a go at doing that planning. And then the third trip is our final trip. So that will be a little bit further afield, and we'll also incorporate into that a little bit of evaluation and feedback to really capture the learning and the skills that we hope everybody would have gained, and just hopefully some of the experiences of being on the project as well. So that's an overview, and this can move around a little bit just depending on the group and depending on what the group would like to do. But with this cohort, we're looking at working with, as I said before, particularly individuals that would like to self-refer, or organisations who know that there are members of their groups who would really benefit and would like to refer them onto the course. Multiple people from a singular group are very welcome. We'll spend that first session kind of really establishing ourselves as a new group. And then this is the timing. So workshop 1, 10 till 12, trip 2, 10 till 12, workshop 2, 10 till 12. So it's all 2 hours for the first 3 weeks. And then for our second trip, we go a little bit further. So we just want to give ourselves some time. So that will be 10 till 1. And then the third workshop, again, is just 2 hours. And our final trip, we really make a day of it. And that's 10 till 3. And as part of that, we do also have a £10 per person refreshment budget. So previously, I've worked with a group where we've ended up having fish and chips in Blackpool. So there's all different things that we can do as well. And it also works as access. So if we wanted to go to something specific and we needed to pay entry, that could be something that we factor in. So the group can kind of decide, again, like how they want to make the most of that. So if people are interested, that is my contact email. And if there are groups who would like their whole group to do this project, we are really hopeful that we're going to have funding renewed for the new year. And if people want to get in touch about a whole group doing this together, then please do get in touch with me, and I will forward that on to Sophia, who will be coordinating community groups for the new year. Anyone interested in this cohort starting on October, just let us know in the email, and we can make sure that your query is going to the right person. That's the kind of overview.
Yeah, and I think we've put this together as a trial, so we hope it's going to work. I know Flourish are happy to do this we think that there might be groups that might want to do this with their own groups, but they might want to try this or have a go at this first while they warm up their own group. Or we've got options, I think. It might be that some of the people in our network want to come and get involved in this. I think we've got lots of groups. We've got a couple on the call here who've got their own group where actually they'll come to you and say, we'd love to do this with our own group. Can we have our own special thing? And we might hear from some of those shortly. That's my best guess at how some of this will work. But we've certainly got options. We'll spend the next couple of weeks seeing, have we got people who want to do something like this with this into this cohort approach and giving it a go? I've got some other ideas I might talk to you about offline as well with this. Another option, if I'm just speaking out loud here, I hope we get the people who we expect to get or we would like to draw in to have a look at this, and that's one method of running this, where different women's organisation kind of leaders and one or two of their groups might come on this, and they might have different kinds of barriers that we discussed: the health, the language, the finance, just getting out and about, feeling, like, where would I go? What do I do? How do and we can run that sort of stuff. The other thought that's coming to mind, and again, I'm always sort of leaping around, is if we don't find that kind of group for this cohort, there's another way of doing this where we might find some of those people and go on a bit of a learning journey. So we can go on a learning journey together, use this as a way of getting people more au fait and look at a whole range of challenges and barriers to why people aren't using the train right now, which would give a whole range of intel, me included, into why I don't use the train. I mean, I do, but I don't on purpose. I'd love to use the train more. There are lots of reasons why I don't, but I think we've got friends in Burnley, we've got friends in parts of Lancashire, we've got friends in parts of Liverpool. So that, for me, with the timescale being as it is, priority number one is to find groups who would like to come and have a little go at this, to see if they'd like to then take it back to their own groups and say, let's do this next year together, who's up for it? And you come up with your own sort of scheme, and that would be the priority, I think, for what, that's the principle. If for any reason that doesn't pass in the way we would like it to, I've got one or two other ideas that I think would tie in with what you're wanting to do with this work as well. It might be a slightly different angle, but I'll come back to that, because I'd like to hope that option one's the one we're going to make work. Just while we're here, the lovely Sol Diaz, whose ears must be burning, I'm not sure where she's based and whether she can come off the call, but Sol's one of the people who we were going to chat to as a bit of a case study. Here she is. As soon as Sophia told us about this, I started putting Sophia in contact with certain groups. We work with lots of multicultural women's groups. We work with lots of groups with people with different additional support needs, visual impairment, neurodiverse. So we've got all the groups there, and it's just finding the right connections and the right approaches for them to want to take part in this with us or independently with you. And Sol, as ever, straight on the blower to Sophia, and has got a project, I think, in the pipeline of Not on the Go. So it'd be lovely to hear more, Sol, on if you've got time, or if you're in the right location to tell us a bit more on what are you up to with Sophia and the or Lauren and Try the Train, and where have you got with that, and what you're hoping to do.
Hi, sorry, I'm in 3 trying to get a plan for my phone.
Oh,
sorry, I've been very disconnected.
You're fine, no problem. And we are just let you know we are. Oh, fantastic. We are recording these just to inspire people to kind of get involved. So just letting you know that's good. Yeah, tell us more. What have you done with this so far?
Yes, I think it's fantastic, the course. And I think it's very well structured and give the people confidence, especially for people who come to this country and they don't know the system well, and they don't know the train system as well. So there's not only one rail company, there's many, but of course we understand that the course is funded by Northern, and we're going to be on the rail through Northern. And so we're going to take it slowly. So next week, so last week we started with Sophia doing some activities, mainly on what we know about the trains, games, matching games, and and having conversations about trains and where we want to go. So it was a group decision that next week we're gonna go into the first into one station, and then look around and look. There's a lot of unmanned stations. So next week we're gonna go to navigation that is unmanned, and then it's important to have that self-confidence to find out and look for things. Yes. And then the following week, so it's going to be back in the center, and then the third week, the second time outing, we're going to be a little bit longer, and then the fourth session will be in the center, and the fifth will be a bit further away. I think it's a great idea, and I think brings a lot of confidence to people, especially to new migrants.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, well, that's fantastic, Sol, and great that you could. The system works. I kind of collared Sol at the last minute, say, "Come and tell us more." So, thank you for making the time when I know how busy you are. And basically, you've just echoed the kind of format that Lauren's described there. So it's hopefully with people picking up and listening to this again, it's sort of reinforcing, what the principles of the project are around. And I'm here saying we can do something that gives people a go now before the next sort of wave of resources move forward, or we might work with somebody like Software to just make this thing happen. We've got options for what we do with that cohort time. So Najwa, I don't know if you want to share any thoughts with us. You might not be able to at this point, but if you'd like to just ask any questions or share any thoughts on what you've heard so far, you're very welcome to.
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's all right. So I know you're a little bit, we told you a bit about this, but you're a bit newer to it. Any thoughts on what you'd heard? Any thoughts on
I think it's an amazing idea. Coming from a personal experience, I am so train illiterate. Although I'm very confident in sort of a lot of aspects in life, train is one of the things that I've maybe I only used it. The only time that I used it is to go to London when Selma had to audition my daughter had to audition for the Junior Bake Off. And that was really, really like nerve-wracking. I wasn't sure where I'm going. I was there 2 hours early because I was worried that I'm going to be late. I'm on the wrong station. So I think, and I know a lot of women from ethnic minority backgrounds who have never, ever been on a train. So I think for us, it will be the new year, Lauren, with a group. I'm not sure you're aware, I run a cafe in Burnage. So our meeting point could be that, to do the workshops and then to go on our adventures. But I think a lot of women will benefit from that, especially women who English is not their first language, confidence is not there, they're not risk takers, so they'll just not say we won't go. And also because they come sort of from deprived backgrounds too, maybe telling us about how to cost it properly, when is it cheaper to buy the ticket, things like that, because a lot of the women that I support, some of them they're not even entitled to any public funds. So we need to work around how could they financially afford to do a train trip if they fancy taking their family or the children. For me and Kayla and Lauren, I think if you get any funding next year, I'll start gathering a group and putting a survey out and asking who would attend and what numbers do we have. And then I think, and preferably if we can do the workshops on a Monday and the trips on a Monday, because that's the day that the cafe is shut. That means we can give you 110% of our time rather than, during the day that we're actually working.
That sounds brilliant. And also it's really, I really think this project is a really good opportunity for us to feed back to Northern as well, what some of the barriers are. And I know that, the cost of railway is a big barrier. And I think it's really good to kind of, they are funding this and it's brilliant and we're doing this. And it's also just work, sharing with them. And they want to know, they are really interested in what are the different reasons why people aren't using it. So that would be great to capture as well. Thank you.
And I know we've not broached it yet, and we've not had someone on the call who's ready to sort of dare bring up the fact that ticket office are closing and all this stuff. So I'll do it on behalf of those people that haven't mentioned
even start there.
Well, no, but I think as well, it would give chance for some open conversations to really understand, the future of rail travel and how we all deal with it. There's people who wouldn't get on the train and people are not sure how, and there's barriers of confidence. I think depending on who comes forward for the next Zoom and who we hear who might be interested in joining this cohort now, we might find that this cohort that we do out of Flourish might be more around how that type of topic where people haven't necessarily got the financial barriers, although they might. It's more time constraints, childcare challenges, getting fed up with the way the train system is sort of evolving, and being really passionate about wanting to use public transport, but having everything stacked against them in trying.
Absolutely. We look at...
Lauren, sorry, in the cafe where I am, it's an extra care scheme for people who are over 55. Apart from me supporting the women from minority backgrounds, I can get in touch with a girl called Vanessa, who's the age-friendly officer for 3 different sites for people with in an extra care scheme. You might want to do. I'll ask Vanessa and I'll take all your contact details. But she might want you to come in and do some workshop with the elderly residents, in Burnage or Gorton or whatever. And if you're lucky enough, you'll actually get them to use their phone to purchase a ticket and get onto the train. But I'll pass all your information over and hopefully we can work around them too, because I think it'll be a nice thing for them, just to see the difference too from how it was their days to these days of using the train.
Yeah, brilliant.
But there's lots of learning options. So I'm going to kind of pause and stop our recording bit, but we can carry on with a few more questions. Hopefully anybody listening has found that useful, just to sort of get a sense of what is this thing, give them some food for thought. They can follow up with Lauren directly on the email that she gave. They can have a chat with me or Fran or Shelley at Flourish as well to sort of look at this. And yeah, hopefully we'll have something ready to go by the beginning of October. And as we hear, there's options as well if timelines don't quite sit to look at things in the new year too. So thanks for listening. Thanks for our contributors and for people getting involved so far. And I'm going to stop it there and we'll catch up with people. There is one more recorded session coming and one more way to get involved. I think it's the 14th at lunchtime. So have a look on our Eventbrite pages if you want to book onto that. Thanks.